Okay, distressed sales, mortgagees in possession, people in trouble as real estate agents. Are we seeing it much in the marketplace, and can you pack a bargain? Stay tuned.
I'm the ringleader, so listen up.
So
Good
listen
morning.
up.
Listen
Hey, how
up.
are you?
Yeah, well, thanks. How are you?
Good. Hey, what are you doing on a Monday, Anthony? It's not like you.
I'm covering for Billy this morning, but don't worry, everyone. He's covering my Thursday, so you will get your double dose of Billy fixing for this week.
What's wrong with Billy today?
I actually won't be here on Thursday, so I've swapped with Billy. Did a switcheroo.
Mortgagee session.
Mortgagee in possession. Look, it's not something that I've had. It's not something that I've had much to do with. In the 12 months that I've been at Novak, I think we've had, maybe 2 or just 1 listing out of everything we've sold residential or put on the market. There's been 1, maybe 2. So they don't pop up very frequently from my point of view, from my opinion.
And then people are thinking there could be an opportunity now with the cliff, the interest rate cliffs, where people are coming off fixed rates. So people are saying, like, you know, there's people are on fixed rates of like 2%, they're going like 6%. That's going to cause delinquency in loans. I had an interesting interview with Commonwealth Bank has 20% of loans in Australia, and the chief economist, Alicia and I did a one-on-one interview with, and that was one of our questions about the delinquency in loans. Now, according to Commonwealth Bank, who has 20% of loans in Australia, they've been tracking well.
So there hasn't been much inflation or much of a significant rise with the cost of living, the rising interest rates. That's all we kind of hear in the media, like just how bad everything is, which I suppose naturally you would presume that would tail onto the property market and see a spike in mortgagee in possessions.
He was saying that Aussies are actually pretty good at honouring their debt. He was saying that Aussies are pretty good at actually, they'll cut something else in order to have that roof over their head mortgage payment made. Yeah.
Absolutely. You still want a home to live. If you can cut your costs in other places, I suppose that would be the first place I would try and limit my spendings in order to afford my mortgage repayments.
He was saying that the people that have endured the last 18 months of rate rises technically would be paying more than what the people that are coming off the mortgage cliff are going to be paid over the. So if you take a period of sort of a year from now and a year backwards, and you take both those profiles, the person that was on the honeymoon fixed rate that's coming off has still got more money in their pocket than the person who's had to fork out every single month the last 18 months.
We've got a little comment from Luke. Lots of cash around. Bye, bye, bye. Yeah, it is very relevant. And I suppose with a mortgagee in possession, it's not something that we see every day. As a prospective buyer, is that something that you would have to disclose to a buyer, that it is a mortgagee in possession, it is a distress sale, the vendor does need to sell?
Nope.
No, interesting.
Can we explain what a mortgagee in possession is?
So when you're unable to make your payments on your mortgage and you just simply don't have the funds or the financial means to do that, a mortgagee in possession is when a bank steps in, they take over, and they pretty much force you to sell your home in order for you to repay those loan payments. So a bank will step in, they'll deal very closely with your chosen solicitor or lawyer as well. They'll step in as well, and collectively, along with the selling agent, they'll communicate every step of the way to list your property and get it for whatever price you can receive for that property. How did I go?
Good. And what's really good and what's really interesting is the banks often don't get their hands dirty. They'll appoint someone else to do it.
Yeah.
So
Well, as a bank, you wouldn't want to have that kind of stigma associated with you. You'd pass that on, let someone else step in because you don't want to be the big, very bad guy.
Spot on. So whenever I've sold, in my career over 30 years, I've probably sold, I'd say 1 every 2 years, mortgagee in possession. And mortgagee in possession is not someone who's like selling their property because they can't pay their mortgage. It's someone that the bank's winding them up because there's debt for them to recover. So it's real bad. It generally happens when people bury their head in the sand. So they stop communicating, they stop working with the bank, and the bank's like, look, we've got nothing to do. We've just got to sell this place. What they often will, every time I've sold mortgagee in possession, they'll appoint it's almost like, it's like an administrator that actually looks after that sale. So it's an independent company. They're often backed by valuers and stuff like that. So they're property guys, and they will actually manage that process on behalf of the bank. And then the bank didn't make the decision to do it. In the negotiations, the bank didn't force, so they sort of remove themselves from it. Yeah,
which makes perfect sense. It does. And look, with the one that I've kind of been on the back burner of in the last 12 months, it was quite an emotional sale for the vendor as well. It's not like he envisioned himself in this situation. It was an emotional sale. He didn't want to release the property. And like you said, he very much probably had his head in the sand a little bit, thinking that things were much better than they actually were and couldn't face reality.
Yeah. And often it's most of this stuff can be fixed with good old-fashioned hard work, but sometimes there's mental illness, and stuff like that. So you got to feel for these guys. Now, buyers out there that are looking for mortgagee in possession, how do they find them?
How do you find them? Well, I suppose, I don't know, if you purchase a strata report for an apartment and you see how much the vendor is in arrears in his payment, that could be an indication.
It's probably the cleverest way. I reckon it's almost the only way, because you're not really going to find out that the bank's the bank sort of isn't on the front page of the contract as the seller, put it that way. It's not obvious. It's hard to find. Mortgagee in possessions will often like to go to auction. So I guess your odds are greater if you're buying a property by auction.
Why do you think that is? What do you think is this connection to an auction with a mortgagee in possession?
They want to appear like they've acted in the best interest of the client. So whenever I'm selling on behalf of banks, the hugest thing that they want to do is cross every single T and dot every single I. It's more about compliance than it is the price. If anything, they don't even really care about the price, but they want to make sure and guarantee and display that every single thing has been done properly in the order of the sale. So often, if you have an asking price on it and you sell it within the first 3 days, you could say to the bank you sold it too cheap. But if you run it through that auction process of 4 weeks, the bank will go, well, we went through the whole process of an auction and that's the best price. We let everyone bid equally. We didn't choose one buyer over the other.
Well, I suppose that's also the best way to determine the market rate, the market value of a particular property as well. Put it to auction. What are the people willing to pay?
Even if it's not an asset that actually suits being auctioned, it's just a process that suits the situation.
Interesting. And
before we go, mortgagee possessions, they are out there It is happening. We're not seeing that many of them. To hand on our heart, to be completely honest with you, we've probably done one or lucky two if in the last 12 months. Do you reckon we're going to see more of them?
Look, I think we'll see at least one in the next 12 months.
Now, if you're a bit of a predator looking for mortgagee in possessions, your odds will be higher if you look at the auction properties. Your odds will be higher if these strata levies have not been paid. It's a good sign. But there's really going to be no clear indicator in the market that there's distress on the client, so it's going to be hard for you to find.
Absolutely, I agree.
What else?
That's it. Ooh. Just need to have a sip of water, Mark. I'm not feeling very well.
Oh, you did this last time. Go have a water. So guys and girls, mortgagee in possessions, it's even affected ZANTHANY, even though she doesn't have a mortgage. Good luck, Xanth. And yeah, certainly, I think the flow rate of people actually having these delinquencies is actually going to be not as high as people think. People are out there going, we're waiting for it. Well, we haven't seen it in the last 18 months. We don't think we're going to see a lot more over the next 18 months. Aussies are very good at honouring their debt, and Aussies will always come out nice and strong. And you know what? The rates have gone up unexpectedly, but historically, we've always supported rates around this level over the last 10, 20, 30, 40 years, and a lot higher. So I think mortgage delinquency is going to be very rare.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
The struggle's real, Xanth. The struggle's real. See you later.
See you soon.
Take care. See you guys.
Bye.